Recently, a document titled U.S. Hegemony and Its Perils has been distributed among Chinese embassies. This document is a straightforward attack on the dominant position of the United States. This is a significant departure from China's usual approach of handling geopolitical issues with caution. Hello everyone, and welcome back to Geopolitics and Money, the #1 channel where the realms of finance, commodities, geopolitics, and investing converge. Our mission is to furnish you with cutting-edge analysis and trends in the spheres of precious metals, digital assets, commodities, and investing. By opting to subscribe to our channel, you'll be empowered with the tools and knowledge necessary to stay one step ahead of the curve, always in the know about the latest developments. Without further ado, let's delve right into the heart of the matter and examine China's statements regarding the United States. The document that we will link to in the description below argues that the U.S. has been pursuing a hegemonic agenda, using its military and economic power to dominate the international order and impose its values on other countries. It further contends that this approach has led to numerous global problems, such as economic inequality, political instability, and military conflicts. The document calls on other countries to resist this hegemonic behavior and work together to promote a more peaceful and equitable world order. This document is a clear indication of China's growing confidence and assertiveness on the world stage. For years, China has been seen as a rising power, but it has often been criticized for its cautious approach to foreign policy. However, this document shows that China is now willing to take a more confrontational stance towards the U.S. and assert its own vision for the world order. The publication of this document has important implications for the future of U.S.-China relations and the broader geopolitical landscape. It suggests that the rivalry between these two superpowers is likely to intensify in the coming years, as China becomes more assertive and the U.S. seeks to maintain its dominant position. This could have significant consequences for global security, trade, and economic growth. What follows is the first part of the publication that starts with an introduction and then talks about the political hegemony of the U.S. on the world stage. These are the literal words of the Chinese Ministry of Foreign Affairs, and we quote, "Since becoming the world's most powerful country after the two world wars and the Cold War, the United States has acted more boldly to interfere in the internal affairs of other countries, pursue, maintain, and abuse hegemony, advance subversion and infiltration, and willfully wage wars, bringing harm to the international community. The United States has developed a hegemonic playbook to stage color revolutions, instigate regional disputes, and even directly launch wars under the guise of promoting democracy, freedom, and human rights. Clinging to the Cold War mentality, the United States has ramped up bloc politics and stoked conflict and confrontation. It has overstretched the concept of national security, abused export controls, and forced unilateral sanctions upon others. It has taken a selective approach to international law and rules, utilizing or discarding them as it sees fit, and has sought to impose rules that serve its own interests in the name of upholding a rules-based international order. This report, by presenting the relevant facts, seeks to expose the U.S. abuse of hegemony in the political, military, economic, financial, technological, and cultural fields, and to draw greater international attention to the perils of the U.S. practices to world peace and stability and the well-being of all peoples. Chapter 1. Political Hegemony, Throwing Its Weight Around. The United States has long been attempting to mold other countries and the world order with its own values and political system in the name of promoting democracy and human rights. Instances of U.S. interference in other countries' internal affairs abound. In the name of promoting democracy, the United States practiced a neo-Monroe doctrine in Latin America, instigated color revolutions in Eurasia, and orchestrated the Arab Spring in West Asia and North Africa, bringing chaos and disaster to many countries. In 1823, the United States announced the Monroe Doctrine. While touting an America for the Americans, what it truly wanted was an America for the United States. Since then, the policies of successive U.S. governments toward Latin America and the Caribbean region have been riddled with political interference, military intervention, and regime subversion. From its 61-year hostility toward and blockade of Cuba to its overthrow of the Allende government of Chile, U.S. policy on this region has been built on one maxim: those who submit will prosper, those who resist shall perish. The year 2003 marked the beginning of a succession of color revolutions: the Rose Revolution in Georgia, the Orange Revolution in Ukraine, and the Tulip Revolution in Kyrgyzstan. The U.S. Department of State openly admitted playing a central role in these regime changes. The United States also interfered in the internal affairs of the Philippines, ousting President Ferdinand Marcos Sr. in 1986 and President Joseph Estrada in 2001 through the so-called People Power revolutions. In January 2023, former U.S. Secretary of State Mike Pompeo released his new book, Never Give an Inch: Fighting for the America I Love. He revealed in it that the United States had plotted to intervene in Venezuela. The plan was to force the Maduro government to reach an agreement with the opposition, deprive Venezuela of its ability to sell oil and gold for foreign exchange, exert high pressure on its economy, and influence the 2018 presidential election. The U.S. exercises double standards on international rules. Placing its self-interest first, the United States has walked away from the international treaties and organizations and put its domestic law above international law. In April 2017, the Trump administration announced that it would cut off all U.S. funding to the United Nations Population Fund, UNFPA, with the excuse that the organization supports or participates in the management of a program of coercive abortion or involuntary sterilization. The United States quit UNESCO twice in 1984 and 2017. In 2017, it announced leaving the Paris Agreement on climate change. In 2018, it announced its exit from the UN Human Rights Council, citing the organization's bias against Israel and failure to protect human rights effectively. In 2019, the United States announced its withdrawal from the Intermediate Range Nuclear Forces Treaty to seek unfettered development of advanced weapons. In 2020, it announced pulling out of the Treaty on Open Skies. The United States has also been a stumbling block to biological arms control by opposing negotiations on a verification protocol for the Biological Weapons Convention, BWC, and impeding international verification of countries' activities relating to biological weapons. As the only country in possession of a chemical weapons stockpile, the United States has repeatedly delayed the destruction of chemical weapons and remained reluctant in fulfilling its obligations. It has become the biggest obstacle to realizing a world free of chemical weapons. The United States is piecing together small blocks through its alliance system. It has been forcing an Indo-Pacific strategy onto the Asia-Pacific region, assembling exclusive clubs like the Five Eyes, the Quad, and AUKUS, and forcing regional countries to take sides. Such practices are essentially meant to create division in the region, stoke confrontation, and undermine peace. The U.S. arbitrarily passes judgment on democracy in other countries and fabricates a false narrative of democracy versus authoritarianism to incite estrangement, division, rivalry, and confrontation. In December 2021, the United States hosted the first Summit for Democracy, which drew criticism and opposition from many countries for making a mockery of the spirit of democracy and dividing the world. In March 2023, the United States will host another Summit for Democracy, which remains unwelcome and will again find no support. End of quote. These declarations made by the Chinese government represent an unprecedented move on their part. They constitute a direct assault on the unipolar global system that has been dominated by the United States, and indicate that we are in the process of transitioning towards a multipolar world order. In this new reality, the USA, Russia, and China will emerge as pivotal players, each vying for influence and power in the international arena. In our upcoming videos, we will delve into China's scathing criticisms of the United States' military, economic, technological, and cultural dominance. Don't miss out on the latest updates. Be sure to subscribe to our channel and hit the notification bell to be the first to know when we release new content. Thanks for watching.